Next on Dru's list of relics ripe for restoration is this 1960s chandelier, which once lit up a famous northern night spot. In her London lighting workshop, Jolene has stripped the dated wiring and cleaned the brass arms. But it's the central uplighter that will undergo the biggest transformation.
I absolutely love this 1950s pink colour. It needs to be brought back with a nice new fresh coat of paint, and that will be the undercolour to my gilding.
Jolene will be gilding it with 22-carat gold leaf, so it's vital that the surface is smooth. Any lumps or marks will shine across the room.
I'm sanding this by hand rather than using a tool because it's really important I don't dent the aluminium, and when you're using a power tool you can actually build up quite a lot of heat and that would soften the metal. Another thing that's really important is I'm creating a lot of dust, and old paints, and this is from the 50s, old paints can be really dangerous, so it's very important that you don't breathe in that dust. You use your finger to feel for any imperfections, because I'm looking for imperfections that even the eye can't see at this stage. If you feel something, it just needs a bit more work. Right, that's ready for some paint.
Painting takes place in a special booth with a built-in extractor to get rid of any toxic fumes. The first layer is a primer coat. Followed by 2 coats of pink enamel-based spray paint.
To get an even layer of paint on the surface, keep moving, don't linger too long. You don't want to get any drips in the paint. Generally, when you're spray painting, you should keep about 20 to 30 centimetres away from the surface. I'm really happy with the top coat. I'm going to leave it to dry properly now so that it'll be ready for gilding in the morning.
In her workshop, Jolene is ready to start the final stage of her restoration, gilding the central aluminium shade of the chandelier to create a crackled gold effect. To start, she's applying a layer of oil-based glue called size, which has a 3-hour drying time.
I'm using a hog hair brush to apply the size. That's because I really want to work it. It's got slightly tougher bristles. Really want to work it into the surface. If you put too little on, too thin, it's just going to dry very quickly and you might not have time to apply all the gold you need to.
The glue is ready when it sticks to the back of the hand like masking tape, but doesn't leave any residue. Costing about £1 per leaf, the gold is so delicate that to avoid damaging it, Jolene uses an ethically sourced squirrel hair brush, the softest there is, to encourage it to stick to the surface.
I'm using 22-carat gold, which won't oxidise in contact with the air. They are made by rolling gold until it's really, really thin. You keep on rolling and rolling and rolling till it's as thin as you could possibly be, about 1/1000th of an inch. And then it's hammered. It's put between parchment paper and hammered until it is so thin that if you breathed on it too hard, it would rip. I'm not worried about there being holes in the gold because I want some of that pink undercolour to shine through. The environment you're working in can really affect your gilding. Warmer temperatures speeds up the process, but warm, moist temperatures, so humidity in summer, can really slow things down. Experience is everything.
It's missing some of its shades, so in his West Midlands studio, renowned glassmaker Alistair Malcolm and his assistant Darren have been commissioned to mouthblow a matching set of brand new ones, using an original as a template.
And now we're going to start to inflate it.
To create the opal colour of the original shades, Alistair overlays clear glass with some that's been infused with metal oxide to turn it white.
It's impossible to do various parts of the process with just one pair of hands. It takes a few years just to get used to working in a space with another person.
The original shades would have been mass-produced using an expensive, specially crafted wooden mould. But because he's only making 8, Alistair is mouth-blowing these individually, while trying to keep them as similar as possible.
The pad's actually made from newspaper. As a maker, you naturally want to get in there with your hands, but you can't because of the temperatures, so this just allows you to get as close as possible. So now I'm going to start to inflate the glass. I can just see the walls of the glass expanding very slightly, so I know that the bubble's growing in the centre. Okay, for the next stage, I'm just going to score a line. This will allow me to break the lampshade off the blowing iron at a later stage.
The skill of glass blowing lies in using the heat of the furnace to keep the glass malleable. Unlike water, glass has no specific melting or freezing point, but if it cools down too much during the shaping process, it can become delicate and crack.
So I'm going to shape the glass while Darren inflates it. Yes, please.
The experienced glassblower uses small, frequent blows rather than one long, continuous puff to avoid overblowing when the sides of the object can become paper thin. To help him keep the shades as uniform as possible, Alistair has taken the measurements of the original shade and preset a series of metal calipers.
Pretty close on the height. Correct on the width.
For the critical moment of detaching the shade from the blowing iron to create the opening, the blown glass has to be supported from the other end with a tool known as a punty iron.
Should have built up enough heat that I can tweezer the rim very slightly and then shear it so that we get a nice and even ridge there. We're not quite at the diameter that we're hoping to achieve, so I'm going to use some wooden cherry woods to encourage this to open out a little bit further. I think we're there. Just one last check. That's nice.
If the shade was left to cool down naturally, it would crack, so it's placed in a kiln at 400 degrees and the temperature is gradually reduced overnight.
So it's come out nicely. I mean, because we've produced these all by hand, each one is going to differ very, very, very slightly. You know, and if we were to line them all up, there would be very small differences as we looked along the line. But that's just one of the things about handmade pieces of glass, really.
For over 30 years, this ballroom chandelier has only been good for scrap. Now it's ready to light up the dance floor again, perfectly restored with a new gold central uplighter to reflect the glow from its hand-blown glass shades.
I'm quite nervous whether or not he's going to like it. I wasn't 100% sure how it's going to look in the end when it all came together, but yeah, it looks really good. I'm pleased with it, so hopefully he is too.